Hey, Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back. Before we get going, we got some news last night that Chiefs legend Lynn Dawson has entered hospice. So we're just trying to get everybody to send out a prayer and some positive vibes for him. So, it's a tough time for him and his family right now, but, George Karlaftis looked good today. Boiler up for Lenny.
Welcome back to another edition of All Chiefed Up. I am Steve, and I'm here with Mike, and today we're going to be doing our first post-game reaction to the first preseason game of 2022 against the Chicago Bears. Before we dive into that, if you're glad football's back and you're glad you got to watch the Kansas City Chiefs today, hit that like button on this video right now. Also, if you have not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications when we come out with new content, and we appreciate you. Do you feel it? Do you feel it in the air? I feel it down in my plums.
Feel my plums, the juice is rolling down my chin.
Feel it down in my plums.
Down in my plums.
With a bluish hue.
The bluish hue in the plums.
Chiefs football is back, baby. Official. It's back. Chiefs football's back.
It's back. I don't know what to do.
Got to see everybody playing football today. Freaking Redbeard went live for like 8 hours today, bro. Football's back.
Redbeard. When Redbeard goes live for 8 hours, you know we're back.
It's going to be a good season, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, man, let's just jump right into it. So good, football's back. You were talking to me off air a little bit ago about people on Twitter having a meltdown because we lost the first preseason game.
Man, tell me you don't know anything about football without telling me you don't know anything about football. When you post a freaking post on there and you're like,
"Oh my God, we suck. We lost. I'm so mad. We lost the game."
Like,
right?
It's preseason. Yeah. We're not trying to win. No one cares. Like, I don't understand that. Like, what fan is in that headspace? I don't understand it. Do you?
No. When the ones were on the field, we were up 14-0, which means we'd have won the game like 60-0.
Yeah, even the Bears fans had left a comment on one of them I saw and was like, the Chiefs would absolutely slaughter us in the actual game. Like, what are you even worried about?
Oh, but speaking of like jumping into a little bit of game talk here, did the offense not look like it did not miss a beat? Like that looked just like an Andy Reid offense, Tyreek Hill or no Tyreek Hill. That just looked like we moved the ball down the field like we always did.
Look, only people in the world that keep saying it, obviously, are Chiefs fans and Robert Griffith III, because he even posted on there, was like, I tried telling y'all. I mean, they're not going to miss a beat because it's an Andy Reid offense. Like you said, we got Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. We went and added all kinds of weapons around him. So you can't just replace Tyreek Hill because he's a generational talent. So what do? You fill it up with, several different pieces that make it even better. And that's exactly what happened. And you saw today, just on that first drive, the way that Mahomes was able to spread the ball around and march up the field like it was no big deal. They didn't even break a sweat scoring that touchdown.
No, the offense only got one first team drive with Mahomes. They said we were going to do a quarter, but we had said yesterday, you had said that seems excessive. There's no point. We're going to come out, march it down the field like nothing, put 6 points on the board.
Field conditions were atrocious, so why keep them out there? Maybe get some kind of weird injury or something. Looked like it got Blake Bell, actually.
Right. I heard he left with a hip injury.
He did, but it was weird. It was kind of a non-contact injury, so I don't know if he just like twisted it or what, but it didn't look good.
Well, hopefully he'll be okay. Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Blake Bell, he was just out there running with Kelsey, with the ones, all the Fortune talk, all the Noah Gray good camp, but yet right there with Bell and Kelsey, just like last year, just as we said would probably happen, which is just another indicator that we probably take 4 tight ends, just as we've said all along. So, yeah, it didn't look any different than it ever did. It just looked like the Andy Reid machine, We just got new pieces just rolling along. Didn't matter who the pieces are. They just are productive. And so getting to that, like we said, Bell and Kelsey both look good. Bell scored the touchdown. Kelsey moved the chains, a nice catch up the middle. So with the first team offense, the only ones that didn't really get a catch at the wide receiver spot with the first team Mahomes was Skyy Moore and was Juju. They were the only two. Both have looked great during camp. Not a big deal. Skyy Moore ended up going, off the rest of the game. He looked really good and fast. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, other than that, the offense looked, pretty good. And all these new guys, MVS come in, looked okay, made a nice catch. Hardman, got a good catch. Clyde ran the ball decently well.
You know who else looked good? The defense. The defense looked great too. First team defense looked awesome. Chris Jones was doing Chris Jones things. He got a sack. Karlaftis was playing hard. Clark looked sharp. First team defense looked good, and that D line looked just fine. They were getting pressure the whole time. Even later in the game, they were still getting some pressure. So,
Dude, I tell you though, George Karlaftis on that defensive line helped a lot. Even on that Chris Jones sack, Karlaftis was helping push that side back.
Man,
So
it's just the drive, man. He's got such a high motor and he don't stop, he don't give up, and it's just a beautiful thing to have on the team. But yeah, let's just go ahead and break this down by position, kind of what we saw go on, some notes we took during the game. We're going to start with the running backs. First thing I noticed was that Isaiah Pacheco is running with the first team right alongside Clyde. He got a couple of carries, got a reception. He looked good. He looked fast. And guess what? He got pulled out right at the same time as Mahomes did. So, I mean, that's kind of telling to me where they see Isaiah Pacheco at, because he literally came off the field when the starters came off the field and did not get back out there. So they must see some kind of a big workload in his future.
right. Well, we had said that you see what you can see. They cannot hide anything during training camp. Pacheco was getting the hype. He's getting the carries. Now the first preseason comes along, the first game. He's getting it again. Coach Reed said, hey, let's not worry about RoJo, this and that and everything else. RoJo kind of ran second and third team all day today. I think RoJo and Gore got the majority of the carries today, which means exactly as we said, looks like those two are kind of battling out for that last spot, it looks like maybe.
Right. Clyde looked sharp. He looked fast. Pacheco looked good on what he did. The very little they both got to play, they both looked sharp, but they came out quick. RoJo played with the second and third team. Gore did as well. And then Fleet Davis kind of ended the game as the running back. So my other notes that I wrote down was RoJo. He ran with the second and third teams. He had a rough day, man. He wasn't getting any kind of help from the offensive line that was out there because they were all backups as well. But RoJo did not look good. He got stuffed on several runs, and he missed a big blocking assignment causing a huge sack.
I seen that.
And he pulled the honey badger thing where he's just like, oh,
So
how they're, I don't know what's going on.
Well,
but
was it him or was he supposed to
It was
be
you.
taken off? I didn't know if he was maybe taken off to the corner and maybe somebody missed it, so he tried to come back and help.
No,
but I
he
thought
just
it was
missed-
all him.
He just missed it. And I think that goes along with what we were saying in the last video. Could this be what's killing RoJo in this offense is he's not picking up on things, not picking up on the pass blocks, things like that. So maybe that's very telling on what's going on with RoJo. Gore, he actually looks terrible.
I'd trade Derek Gore. Derek Gore sucked today, man. I don't know what his deal was. I'd trade Derek Gore for
the ghost of Frank Gore. And he's not even dead.
I'd trade him for a soundtrack to the movie Footloose.
I would trade him for the Bodyguard soundtrack with Whitney Houston.
I listened to that yesterday, actually.
He had a couple of wide open drops, just looked bad, and he also had a fumble. And I think he left the game with an injury on the fumble play. It's funny because we mentioned Mike Pennell in the last video when we were talking about Danny Shelton. Pennell's the one that punched the ball out. Pennell looked really good for the Bears. It's insane. But so yeah, hopefully Shelton can fill that little small role that we got from Pennell back in the day. But Fleet Davis, he came in, kind of finished the game out. He didn't do anything impressive. Of course, then again, he's playing with a second, third, fourth string offensive line. So yeah, I mean, as far as running backs go, it kind of is what it is right now.
Yeah, well, the running backs can only do what the offensive line can open holes for you. Let's not get that twisted. We're going to get to that in a minute, but our offensive line depth looked atrocious today. Our offensive line got beat all day long. They were horrible. So back to running backs. I still think Clyde's that number one. I think Pacheco may have got himself. I think it's going to be Pacheco and McKinnon. I don't think RoJo even looked explosive. He looked like he was in quicksand all day long. I don't know. I'm not a fan of RoJo right at this point. Like, he needs to step up. Like, in my opinion, RoJo and Gore both looked horrible all day long, and those two are battling out for, the 4th spot at this point, in my opinion.
Right. So I wrote down my projected depth chart after this first game, and it's number 1, CH, number 2, Pop Pacheco, number 3, Jerick McKinnon, 4, RoJo, 5, Fleet Davis, and 7, Gore. Gore literally almost played his way out of Kansas City today. Like, he's going to have to bounce back hardcore because he looked rough. Fleet Davis was just kind of meh. RoJo, obviously a better running back than Fleet Davis, so I went ahead and gave him the nod there, but he did not look good, and I wouldn't exactly say he's going to make this team either.
If Fleet Davis had got to run with maybe some of the better offensive line, he actually did show a pop and a burst, whereas I didn't see it from RoJo. That's the difference.
I mean, they all played with the same crappy offensive line. So, I mean, you can't just knock RoJo all the way down to the bottom for no reason. Right. But, yeah, that's kind of why.
Let's just say RoJo's on the hot seat. Like, after that performance, he's got to be. I would trade RoJo right now for a slice of Kraft single cheese.
I'd trade RoJo for a gallon of gas and a Snickers bar.
I'd trade him for a case of Hemorrhoids.
I'd trade RoJo for a kick in the balls and a piece of bubble gum. Hey, let's move on to wide receivers, man. First note I have Juju wasn't targeted. He only played that one drive, but he wasn't targeted. MVS only got one reception. McCole Hardman only got one reception, both good catches. And of course, they came out as well. So I think the main things that I pulled away from this game with the receivers, number one, Skyy Moore looked fantastic. He looked fast. He's running good routes. He pulled down that awesome catch on the sideline, dropped the toes in, looked great. Number two, Justin Watson. Justin Watson played his way onto this team. He's firmly at that number 5 spot right now. I mean, he looked great. He had several catches. What did he go? 5 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. One of his catches was actually a huge jumping catch, and the other one was that great touchdown catch from Bichelle.
Yeah, I thought Justin Watson looked really good all day. I thought in his limited time on the field, I thought Fountain looked really good too. Fountain made a few catches and looked pretty good, and he's a special teams guy. We know. Like,
right,
they're going to look at him.
He had 3 receptions for 24 yards, and that's the next thing I wrote down was Fountain looked solid. And I think that he's firmly at the wide receiver 6 at the moment.
Yeah, I think pushing him for wide receiver 6 right now is probably Cornell Powell. He had that early drop, but after that, he had a few catches, and I thought he looked better than Josh Gordon. I thought Josh Gordon was the worst receiver on the field again today. He almost had 2 good catches, but so close.
I don't know what you were watching.
Dude, Josh Gordon, listen, Josh Gordon in Kansas City is just this. We should just call him almost, because he's almost had a touchdown catch. He's almost made a play. He just never can get it together.
Look, I'll agree with you, but Powell played like trash.
Dude,
I think
he caught a few passes. That's better than Josh Gordon did.
Josh Gordon caught some really good passes, but when you got your guy throwing it all the way out of bounds and you're trying to toe tap, that's not necessarily his specialty there.
Well, Josh Gordon just doesn't look nimble. He doesn't look like Josh Gordon. It's not what I remember. I don't think Josh Gordon played better than Justin Watson, and I don't honestly think he played better than Fountain. So at this point, he's probably on the cut line.
Right. But I had him a little bit above Powell, in my opinion. But this is actually what I wrote down for the top 6, and those: Juju, Hardman, Moore, MVS, Watson, Fountain. That's where we're headed.
Yeah, I agree. I think Gordon and Powell's probably right there battling for that cut line. I would have liked to get to see Jerry and Ely a little more today. I think I only seen him out there during special teams a couple times. That was it.
Yeah, I'm not for sure if he got out there at receiver or not late in the game, but either way, it didn't matter because they couldn't get a pass off. Speaking of, let's just go into quarterbacks. Obviously, we got Mahomes looking good, 6 for 7, 60 yards with a touchdown. Went out there, didn't break a sweat, scored a touchdown, done for the day. Henne only came in, passed three times, I think, 2 for 3, had about 10 yards. And then most of the game, we got to see Shane Bichelle. And he went 12 for 19 with 99 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception. So,
hey, I honestly think Shane Bichelle doesn't look all that bad considering where he is in his career. And Henne, to me, looks super timid a lot of the time. I don't know if it's a lot of his fault. There's one time on like that screen pass, they just come at him. He just flipped the ball out. Like, that's what Henne is. He's the ultimate Andy Reid, like, control it quarterback guy. You know, it's just going to right the ship. But right. I mean, he's getting older. Well, I think if he was a little younger in his career and they didn't think he would retire after this year, I think Bichelle would beat him on the roster. But as it sits, obviously Henne's going to get the number 2
Yeah,
spot.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Unless I'm completely wrong, it looks like they're obviously going Mahomes, Henne, and then they're trying to see who can maybe take that 3rd spot. They wanted to see Bichelle or Crum, and
Bichelle looked a lot better than Crum. Well, Crum, I made the point during the game. I was like, why does he kind of like he runs hunched over, he walks hunched. I was like, he looks like an early man. And then I laughed until I fell off the couch.
Well, my thing is,
I don't even understand.
I don't think that they got a fair assessment on Crum, to be honest. He couldn't even get a pass off. So you didn't even really get to see his passing abilities, but he did make a couple of scrambles. He can definitely get that first down when he needs to make some things happen. So that was a plus side for him. Actually, when he got that first down with a little spin move and then he powered his way, kind of reminiscent of the Patrick Mahomes touchdown against Tennessee a couple of years ago in the playoffs, just right at the end of it, the way he kind of just rolled over into the first down. But yeah, I think he definitely showed that he can offer you something, but you didn't get to see a lot from Crum. So I think I would still put Bichelle above him for that 3rd spot right now, but I think that you're going to see a lot more of them in the next few games because they're going to still be wanting to see what they can do.
But let's be real. I think we're only going to take 2 into the season anyway. So we're fighting over a practice squad spot probably, which gets us to the O-line. Let's just jump into the O-line. I was completely disappointed. The first team O-line was fine. I did notice that Creed or Trey Smith or Tooney. I couldn't tell where it come from, but early in the game they whiffed on a run block and got somebody hit pretty good in the backfield. So I thought that was a little miss that we didn't see a lot of last year. That was weird, but otherwise I thought Orlando Brown looked okay at the left tackle. Our first team offensive line fine. When it got to the second and the third teams, good Lord, they looked atrocious sometimes.
It was bad. It was real bad. So, I mean, the first team, like you said, they had like one little blunder, but I mean, it's early. It's the first preseason game, so not a big deal. Not worried about them at all. I think they're going to be great. That's actually what I wrote down was exactly what you just said. Third and fourth teams looked absolutely atrocious. And Darian Kennard, he actually ran with the third and fourth team today, if you didn't notice. And I mean, to be honest, he just looked very pedestrian. He didn't look that great.
Dude, I wrote that down too. Darian Kennard struggled all day long with the simplest form of pass rush. He struggled with a bull rush. They
Which
bull
is
rushed
weird.
him into the middle of the pocket about 10 times, it seemed. And that could be a problem because usually if you don't got good moves, you go to the bull rush. That was what they said with Karlaftis. He's not explosive. He has to just do a bull rush. But I mean, a bull rush is effective. Let's not be, stupid about that. But other than that, yeah, Kennard struggling all day. It didn't look like a guy that was ready to take that starting right tackle job. So
Now, I'm still pulling for him to do it,
Yeeks.
but I think it's going to take a little longer than we think, maybe.
boy, did we miss on that one.
Possibly. I don't know. It could have just been a bad day. I mean, it's the first game. It's an absolute first preseason game he's been in. So I'm not going to look too much into it.
Hey.
I still think he has the ability to take that spot.
Yeah. Well, Roderick Johnston was in there at right tackle too.
Dude, he could be on the cut line.
He got destroyed and got Derek Gore blew up in the backfield on one of those runs. And he just got demolished.
Man, at this point, I would trade Roderick Johnson for like a cardboard cutout of a good offensive lineman just to sit there. If you had to cut people off this team today, if you had to take those 5 off this team today, Johnson would probably be on that list because he looked absolutely awful.
Dude, the 2 guys we signed, with the wonky last names, at the same
they're
time,
terrible.
both of them are terrible.
Yeah,
they're never going to play. I think the only backup that actually played decently okay was Allegretti. He was the only one that looked okay, and that's not saying much. So yeah, our offensive line got destroyed. Dude, I would trade everybody on our second and third team offensive line for, I don't even know,
the members of NSYNC.
Yeah, I'd rather have the Backstreet Boys as our backup offensive line than this second and third
we'll
team.
Even take that one Backstreet Boys annoying little brother that's all over the internet right now.
Aaron?
Yeah.
I'll take Aaron Carter over Roderick Johnson today.
At least that guy's confident. He might suck, but he don't think he does.
No, man. He's hyped up on something.
Hey, he's drinking a Monster.
Yeah.
He's going home to punch.
If he's drinking a Monster, he's going home to punch, baby. We're gonna put him on the offensive line. We're gonna give Aaron Carter a Monster, put him on the offensive line. He'll go in there to punch
people.
Punch.
Look,
that was third and fourth.
Pray to Jesus for good health on that offensive line this year because we have a great offensive line, but the depth on it, not so great. Let's go ahead and move on to the defensive side of the ball. D-line actually looked really good. We discussed it earlier. Jones got a sack. He looked good. Clark looked good. But I'll tell you who actually flashed a little bit. 2 different guys on that D-line that I was actually impressed with a little bit, and that was Taylor Stallworth and Kalen Saunders. They both had flash plays where they blew up a run and were like looking good. And it's weird because we thought Stallworth had kind of just backed his way into oblivion. You didn't hear nothing about him.
Hey, know what's weird about that is the one player that I thought come out of nowhere. I even had to go look him up. I was like, who is this guy? I hadn't even seen him on the team. We hadn't even talked about him. There was a defensive tackle out there by the name of Matt Dickerson, dude, he looked pretty good.
Sorry, I was killing a mosquito.
Oh, you're fine. He looked pretty good. He was blowing up. He was hustling. He would have got a sack, and they just completely held him up the middle, no call at one point. I don't know if you remember that play. But, yeah, Matt Dickerson. I don't know who this defensive tackle is, but honestly, he's on my radar now. Like, this kid looked pretty solid. The only thing was he's undersized, so in run stuffing situations, he's probably going to have to come off the field. But, dude, he looked decent on pass rushing right up the gut. So
I'm just going to go ahead and say that defensive tackle position, I'm not worried like I was. I mean, I'm not completely excited about it and think that Chris Jones has a sidekick that's just going to wreak havoc. But I think with Stallworth, the way that he looked, and Saunders, and of course we still got Danny Shelton. Who did he even play today? I don't think he
I
did.
don't think I seen him out there.
But either way, I mean, I think and Turk Wharton, of course, like we got some decent options there, so I'm okay with that. Great news is that George Karlaftis looked absolutely awesome today. We were talking about earlier, he's playing with a high motor. He's looks strong, man. Like he was just getting pressure like crazy. He got the sack.
Hey,
Loving it. Loving
who
it.
said he was going to get a sack today and get rid of all the haters? These guys, and he got it. He should have had 2 sacks. He probably could have had 2 or 3. There was certain things why he didn't. But yes, I thought George Karlaftis, he looked like a man out there. Like he looked ready to go day one. He was causing problems. And Justin Fields is a mobile quarterback. He's a fast guy.
Yeah.
And he was causing problems and getting to him. I thought Karlaftis just looked like a flat out monster out there.
Man,
And
it just goes to show you put in the work, man. It's going to pay off. And this guy is a workhorse. I actually read a tweet where he said that he was going to start watching game tape on the ride to the airport to see where he needed to improve. Like the guy never stops. So, I mean, it's going to show on the field that he works that hard. But yeah, D-line overall, I'm good with. I'm impressed with. I think they did a great job. So let's just go ahead and move to the linebackers. Willie Gay looked really good. Looked fast. Looked athletic. Bolton, he was quiet but solid. He was Nick Bolton. No problems there. Lee, quiet, same kind of as Bolton. You didn't really get to see Leo until late in the game. So I thought that was kind of weird that he was playing with the 3rd and 4th team.
Leo looked kind of tired a lot. Did you notice that? Like I looked like he looked like he was tired a few times. There was a play I called it out and I was like, God, Leo looks like he don't even want to play right now. He just kind of comes up and hits the blocker barely. But then as soon as I get it out of my mouth, he slides off and catches the screen passer and takes him down behind the line. So
I'll tell
it didn't hurt him much,
but I'll tell you what I noticed with Chanel today. He actually shined to me. I thought that he looked good when he was out there. He had 6 tackles and 1 assisted tackle, and a couple of those were for losses. I think he blew up a couple of run plays. He looked really good. He was hitting hard, but he looked very indecisive, and I think that's what you're talking about. There were a couple plays, especially on the goal line, where it's like he just didn't dedicate himself to whatever. He didn't make a decision and go. He was like a sitting duck.
Right.
I think maybe that's why he's down in there. And also notice he struggled with coverage a little bit.
Hey, speaking of Wisconsin linebackers, though, how impressive was Jack Sanborn on Chicago?
Right.
Nobody even talked about that guy. And like, I think we had him in like the 3rd or 4th round projections. And then I think he slipped like pretty late, but,
Leo's not going to allow this. Leo's not going to allow him to be the Wisconsin linebacker.
Jack Sanborn and George Karlaftis, right with Skyy Moore, looked like the 3 best rookies on the field today, no matter what team we were watching. Like Jack Sanborn was very impressive to me. If I was a Bears fan, I'd come away happy with that one.
You know what? We don't care about the Bears. We don't care about Sanborn. So we're going to quit talking about it. Okay?
Dude, come on. Be a football
This is not
fan.
all bared up, bro. But yeah, overall, I think Chanel actually played really well. I think that, like I said, he struggled in coverage a little bit. He looked indecisive at times, but if he can work those kinks out, he looked pretty good. So I'm impressed.
I thought that Jermaine Carter didn't do much. I seen him on the field a few times, but he didn't stick out to me. I actually see Elijah Lee. He actually blew a coverage and allowed Tajay Sharp to have a nice catch and run there. It looked like to me he thought it was a zone and he passed it off, but everybody else looked like they were in man. And of course, Brian Cook was 20 yards behind him. It's like he passed him off and he just sat right behind him and chunked off one. So I think Lee blew that one. I'll have to go back and watch it again, but it looked like he blew that assignment. But anyways, I seen Harris out there for a few snaps and he actually didn't look bad either. It looked like to me, Harris kind of put himself elevated above maybe a Jermaine Carter today, you know, depending on how if he does special teams. Cause I know that's a Carter thing, but
Harris has been in the system.
Right.
And they haven't. So he does have a leg up on those guys.
Yeah. So, I mean, our linebackers are kind of exactly as we said they would be. You're going to have Carter and Harris fighting for that last spot, but I do believe Chanel makes the team, obviously. I think Elijah Lee and, of course, Willie Gay and Nick Bolton are going to be there. So
let's move on to the fun one here.
Cornerbacks.
Yeah, we all wanted to know how the corners went. That's one of the main things we wanted to watch. Sneed, McDuffie, Williams, all solid. All of them looked good. They didn't do anything crazy impressive, but they looked like we figured they would look. Lonnie, he didn't play till the 3rd and 4th team. He didn't have bad coverage per se. He was on his guy, but he did let up 2 catches.
He got beat twice pretty bad. I blame Whacker Deshaun.
Man, Lonnie, did you go to the massage parlors with Deshaun and lose your football game? Did you leave it? Did you leave it at the snow spa or something like that. I bet Deshaun wishes that he was a center instead of a quarterback. That way he could have somebody touch his hang down a little bit
Right.
every day.
Yeah, he said just massage it right up in there.
He's right by the thigh. But if you just put a little more pressure there.
Hey, your hands are kind of rough. Put a little lotion on there before you get under there. That's
Well,
against a third or fourth team receiver too. Maybe there's something to this Lonnie not playing.
could be. But I mean, that's the only thing. I didn't think he got beat. Now on the one catch he let up, they actually had him playing off the ball, and the guy just stopped and turned around, and he just couldn't get back to him. You know, it was just kind of the way it was
Right.
played. But he did get beat on one play. But I did see a lot of good coverage by him, and he made a lot of good tackles. So that's one good thing in his favor. And I think he could have got a pick today, but Dandridge went for it and butchered it.
Right. I was gonna say this was a bad day for Kentucky football. I was a little disappointed.
know.
And of course everybody out there is gonna be like, dude, Kentucky football, of course it was a bad day. But guess what?
We're coming.
Man, it's gotta come on. But yeah, I thought Lonnie struggled a little bit. He did not look great as like I thought he would. I thought Kennard, as we had spoke, kind of struggled. I kind of disappointed there. But back to the corners. You know who I thought stuck out as a rookie pretty well today? Nasir Greer, the corner from Wake Forest. Dude, he got a sack. He got a nice little a tackle for a loss late. He's come out of nowhere and just kind of played a little bit today. Like he's on the radar for me. Him and that tackle, you know, that defensive tackle come out, and those were probably the two most impressive second half players for me in a way.
Yeah, some of the other guys we wanted to see what they did today, and that was Jalen Watson, Nazi Johnson. Watson, he had decent coverage on a few plays. He even had one pass defended that looked pretty good.
But
but
when that running back juked him in the hole,
man,
it just took off.
look,
Oh
he
my
let
God.
up some big plays, and I saw him out of position quite a bit.
Right.
And I definitely see what Spagnuolo was saying, and we've said previously he doesn't play at a high speed. It's like not that he's not fast, but he's very lackadaisical, and he plays too slow, and it gets him. It just gets him.
Hey,
But,
you know who else sucked today, in my opinion? Boodle. Boodle looked horrible.
I wrote that down as well. Boodle was trash.
I actually screamed at the TV.
Hey,
Boodle. I screamed at the TV. Boodle's about to get booted from this roster.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, he
You're
looked
cut.
atrocious.
I'd trade DiCaprio Boodle for a pair of those Shaq shoes from Walmart. I'd trade Boodle for a half-drank Pabst Blue Ribbon with like a cigarette put out in it.
Like, I would have cut him today. And then I thought Devin Bush looked decent at times at the safety spot, but he did get beat for a touchdown late. He started strong and faded. And then Key looked bad too. Key got beat on a just a little corner route.
I thought that both of those guys, along with Jalen Watson, just looked out of position, and Boodle as well. They looked like they were just out of position sometimes. They weren't where they needed to be.
They were my 4 DBs that I put on the hot seat after this week. I actually thought Dandridge looked decent.
So I'm thinking depth chart projection for after the game with a cornerback, since that's been like a hot topic.
Yeah.
Sneed, Fenton, McDuffie, Williams, Johnson, Watson, Johnson, Nazi Johnson as number 7, and DiCaprio Boodle is number 8. I did not put in is Greer considered a safety?
I'm not for sure. They got him listed as corner on KansasCityChiefs.com. So I don't know how they got him played, but it doesn't matter because obviously they've still got, I think, Najee listed as a safety, and they got him at corner. So who knows?
Right. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think Lonnie Johnson kind of got to that position to where he did let up some stuff. We now know why he's not playing with the first team or second team. But I still think he's on the team at the moment, right above Jalen Watson, Nazi Johnson, and Boodle.
Right. And then when we get to safety, obviously Reed looked good right off the bat, and he kicked an extra point. That may be play of the day. And then
Thornhill looked solid. He had a sack.
Right. And then I thought Brian Cook was decent.
Yeah, but he had a big hit on special teams. Right. Everybody excited.
Yeah, he had a nice special teams play.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a few minutes before we end this thing. We're going to do some winners, some losers from the day, and then who needs to show more quick. So I'm going to go ahead and start with winners, Mike. You can tell me if you agree or disagree. Isaiah Pacheco, because we know he's running with the first team now. He's got himself in a good position. Number 2 winner of the day was George Karlaftis. He got out there. He looked good. He looked hungry, fast, all that good stuff. At number 3, I have Josh Williams. He's also played his way into probably the second team, maybe first team sometimes. Justin Watson was a winner for today because he's a solid WR5 now. I mean, anyone watching the game knew who Justin Watson was before, the game was over. I think that Wiley was actually a winner for today because he looked like he's firmly got a grip on that right tackle spot at the moment because Kennard struggled. And then number 6, I had Darius Fountain because he came out and he was solid, looked good, and we already know that Tobe loves him. So I think he's firmly at wide receiver 6. So that's who I had as my winners, Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more winner. I'm just going to say the defensive line as a whole was a winner today, in my opinion. I do know the third and the fourth teams there in the third and the fourth quarters were kind of getting pushed around a lot when the Bears started like running to the outside. That looked like they were on roller skates sometimes trying to get to the edges. But I mean, they looked decent for their first game. So I'll give the defensive line a full a winner for the day.
What about the people that took the L?
I'm going to say my biggest loser of the day. This pains me. I think it's going to be Kennard. I wanted to see more from Kennard. I think it's got to be Kennard.
Look, I don't have Kennard as a loser, and I'll tell you why. Because I have him first on the list as needs to show more quick.
Okay, I'll give you that.
He's a rookie. It's his first time out there. It's his first preseason game. He didn't have the best linemen around him, which is going to affect how you're playing anyway. So if you're out there with that atrocious third and fourth team line, I mean, they're going to make you look bad at times too. So I'm going to go ahead and make him the first one that needs to show more.
Okay, I'll give you that one. So another loser I got, I'm going to go ahead and say Lonnie Johnson. He should have looked better than he did. You could maybe put him on the show more as well.
I have him as number 2 on the show.
Okay, so big loser. I'm going to say Boodle was a loser today. Like, I mean, what do you expect out of Boodle anyway? We weren't expecting too much. I think the backup offensive lines as a whole has to just be a losing entire, like, that's a losing position for us. Like, let's hope our offensive line can stay healthy.
Yeah, please, Jesus. My losers, obvious loser for the day, Derek Gore. You might be leaving. RoJo was a loser, but it's because when he did get a chance to maybe play his way up a little bit, he did not take it. I mean, granted, a lot of it wasn't his fault because of offensive line, but he missed some block assignments, and he just didn't look, like you say, he didn't look explosive.
Need to see more. I'm going to give it to Josh Gordon. I'm not going to call him a loser today. I'm going to say we need to see
I have
more.
him there too. My
Good
number
deal.
3, and I only wrote down 3 losers for the day. This is the first preseason game. Was Cornell Powell, and that's just because of the drops. And he, man.
Did he just have one drop? I only seen him drop one.
Man, but that one was bad because it was a slant route that he could have broke for a mile. And it was like no one was near him.
I know, but he did make a few catches late.
Well, okay, since they do kind of blend together, and we kind of showed that because we've been arguing and bickering back and forth, but need to show more. Number 1, Darian Kennard, you got to show some more, buddy. I mean, I understand there's some situations going on there, but you got to step it up. Lonnie Johnson, you're on the fringe, buddy. And we're starting to see why. So step it up, show them what you can do. We all know how good of an athlete you are. Make it happen. Be solid. Number 3, Josh Gordon, which you just said. Josh Gordon, you didn't look bad. He made some good catches. He looked like he was running routes good. But one thing I thought was missing from Josh Gordon is he just didn't look like he was playing hard per se. He didn't look like he had much of a drive. Like he was just there. He was just there.
That's how I get Josh Gordon all the time. I just feel like that's him.
If he could light a fire under that guy's butt, man, maybe he could get out there and just play harder. I think maybe he would look like a totally different player. And then number 4 and number 5 need to show more is Nazeeh Johnson and Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson, like I said, he missed a lot of assignments, but he did have flashes where he looked like he had decent coverage as well. Nazeeh Johnson just kind of flew under the radar the whole game. So those 2 guys, if they want to make the 53, they're going to have to show some stuff soon. So that's who I had. Do you have anybody to add to that list?
No, I think you just about covered it. I think I'll ask you a question here before we wrap this up really quick. If you had to name one person on offense and one person on defense that made you really excited for the day, you can only get one, and that makes you excited to be a Chiefs fan and excited to see them coming up on next Saturday against the Commanders. Who are you excited to see on both sides of the ball?
Offensive side of the ball is no doubt about it, Skyy Moore. As far as rookies, just
agree.
How crispy look, dude. He looks so fast and he's so quick in a small space. It almost reminds you of Tyreek Hill, the way he can really just twist up a cornerback, and his route running's great, and he's catching everything. So I mean, Skyy Moore definitely.
Okay, I'll take defense.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, take defense.
I already know what you're gonna say because I'm gonna say it too. George Karlaftis. Yeah, that dude is a monster.
Yeah, man.
Dude, did Brett Veach hit that one? Everybody, George Karlaftis can't. You know,
Man,
get after the pass. Come
Look,
on.
if Karlaftis looks like I think he's going to look this year, just by how much he's working and how much he flashed in this first preseason game ever, and just the motor, man, and the will to do good is just insane. He's going to end up being a steal in this draft at pick 30. I don't care. I
Yeah.
guarantee you some of them guys that went way higher than him, Jermaine Johnson, Kayvon Thibodeau, some of them might disappear into oblivion, but George Karlaftis will not. He will make sure that you know who he
Right.
is.
Hey guys, that's going to wrap it up for our little recap of our first preseason game against the Bears. If you like what you heard, you want to hear a little bit different, want to hear it a little more in depth, head on over to our podcast. We release them Monday and Friday. Monday morning, we're going to do a podcast doing this exact same thing. It's going to be a little different, exclusive to podcast only.
Guys, if you like what you heard today, if you had fun watching the Chiefs play their first preseason game, hit that like button on this video right now. Also, if you've not subbed, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you get notifications when we come out with new content. And we appreciate everything you do. We got to 1,000 subs, and we're going to talk more about that later.
We'll talk about that on Monday. Okay, guys, hit that subscribe button. See ya.
There goes a sight from my soul.